week one of the fantasy football season, and here's a few kickers I would look to start this week. The first guy is Rodrigo Blankenship of the Indianapolis Colts. A Blankenship last season, he had a pretty solid season for the Colts, especially as a rookie kicker in the NFL, where he made a lot of opportunities. He kicked a few 40 and 50 yarders, which are obviously big parts of fantasy football. If you could get 7 to 10 points a week from a kicker, that's definitely a big number, and sometimes they put up better numbers than flex guys on your roster. So this week he's got a matchup versus the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously he's indoors in Indianapolis, which is always a plus for any kicker or any player. So right here, that's going to play a factor. And I think this week, Rodrigo, he's going to get a couple opportunities for 30, 40-yard field goal attempts. And right here, for them to stay in this game is the Colts, in my opinion. They got to put points up on the board and get in the red zone a lot of opportunities and time. So right here, Blankenship, I think he could get 8 to 10 points this week, and they got to score points. So right here, I like him as a start. The next kicker I would start this week's Robbie Gould of the San Francisco 49ers. So Robbie Gould, one of the most consistent and accurate kickers in the NFL history right here. So Gould this week, he's got a good matchup at the Detroit Lions, and the San Francisco 49ers, they should put up a decent amount of points in this game, and they should be in the red zone a lot of times as well, in my opinion. Robbie Gould, we know he's accurate, we know he gets the job done, and this game I could see the 49ers scoring in the mid-20s to high 30s in this game. Detroit, they really can't stop anyone on defense, and also this is another ball game played indoors, and right there, that's obviously a plus. You don't got to deal with the wind, you don't got to deal with the factors, and like I mentioned, this San Francisco team, they should be living in the red zone, in my opinion, in this ball game. And I think Robbie Gould, he could score double-digit fantasy points this week. The next kick is Brandon McManus of the Denver Broncos. So Brandon McManus, we know he's got one of the biggest legs in all of pro football at the kicker position. And this week they got a matchup at the New York Giants, who are a pretty good defensive team, especially last season towards the end of the year here. And this game is at Giant Stadium, where obviously it's a heavy-winded stadium, but obviously it's week one, and the weather shouldn't be bad, but any condition, Brandon McManus could kick the football. And I'm surprised he's only owned in 16% of fantasy leagues so far. But right here versus the Giants, I could see a couple 50-yarders in this one. I don't think this Bronco offense is that great. I know Teddy Bridgewater, he's only an upgrade over Drew Lock, in my opinion, but I think Denver's going to be settling in this game. And like I mentioned, this Giant defense, they stop a lot of teams from finding the end zone. And I could see this being a low-scoring game, like a final 20-17 or something along this lines here with these two teams. But right here, Brandon McManus, I like the matchup. I like how he could kick the football from deep. And this week, I think he's going to find a 40 or 50-yarder on his score sheet here in fantasy football. The next start this week's Matt Prater of the Arizona Cardinals. So Prater, he left Detroit after many seasons over there as a Lion, and this week he's at the Tennessee Titans, and this is another game I could see being high scoring here. This Arizona Cardinal offense is very explosive, and last season we saw them give their kickers many opportunities. But right here, they get Matt Prater. We know he's a veteran. We know he's got a great boot and can kick many 40 or 50-yarders with ease. And this week I could see one or two of those going through the uprights for him at the Tennessee Titans. And he's another guy I'm surprised that's only owned in 28% of fantasy leagues. So this week at Tennessee, anywhere from 8 to 10 points, I could see Prater putting up. He's going to get way more opportunities with Arizona than he did with Detroit. And like I mentioned, he could kick from far ranges. And 10 of his ball games are also indoors this season, playing in the West over there in the NFC. So right here, Matt Prater is a good start this week. And I think a solid kicker this whole season, unless he totally loses it and misses a lot of field goals. But this week, I could see a big week out of Matt Prater. And the fifth and final kicker, I'd look to start this week's Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills. So Tyler Bass came out of nowhere last season as a rookie for this Bill team. And he was one of the best kickers in fantasy football, kicking over 4 field goals of 50-plus and 8 field goals of 40-plus. So he's got a big boot. Right here is Bass, and he versus a Pittsburgh Steelers defense that actually stops a lot of teams and holds them to field goals. So in this game, I could see him hitting 2 or 3 field goals and a few extra points. This Buffalo Bill offense is definitely explosive, and definitely a team that's going to get in the red zone many times this week and obviously many times this season, because last season Bass was great, and this week I think he's going to be great again, hitting double digit in fantasy points, and he was one of the top drafted kickers entering fantasy leagues, and this week he's going to put up numbers. So that's a few kickers I look to start here in finally week 1 of the fantasy football season.